What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome. In today's video, we are going to be creating 3 looks with the new Spellbound palette from Jolie Beauty. This is their spooky season release and it is absolutely beautiful. I love the packaging on here with sort of this smoke swirl going on that reflects the color story on the inside. Now this is a 28 pan palette. It does retail for $57 and the color story in here, like I said, is beautiful. These are the tones that I gravitate towards with the purples and the blues and this nice little smattering of greens over here. I think is a nice addition to this palette. I love that it goes from light to dark. I think the shimmer selection in here is absolutely beautiful and I loved playing with this palette. I say that because I forgot to film this intro and I've already created my looks. In fact, this is a sneak peek of the 3rd look that you will see. So we are going to jump in. I'm going to show you how I created these looks, but before we do, I wanted to let you know that this palette is still currently available on the Jolie Beauty website, so I will have it linked down below in the description box, as well as everything else that I used today to create my looks. So per usual, if you're ever curious about anything I use in any of my videos here on my channel, always check the description box because I squeeze as much information as I possibly can into that tiny little space. But let's go ahead and jump into the looks that I created with this palette. Alright, so for my first look, we're going to play with the purples. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this really pretty like rose petal pink shade right here. This one is called Illuminate, and I'm going to start by picking that shade up with a BK Beauty 201 brush, and I'm just going to kind of fluff this into my crease, building up a little depth, a little definition, kind of something to start this look off. I kind of had this idea in my mind of doing something very light on the inner corner and then just kind of blowing it out and smoking it out on the outer corner. So we'll kind of see where this takes us. There's a lot of depth in this palette and I love that, but that is going on really nicely. It is buildable in pigmentation, which is what I expect, but I'm not getting patching, skipping, fallout. These are blending out very easily. Alright, so next we're going to go into this mid-tone kind of plummy purple shade right here. This one is called Divination. I can never say that word. I struggle with that word and I don't know what it is about it, but it's Divination, and I'm going to pick that up with a Singe Beauty EO3 brush, and I'm going to start putting this in my outer corner, and I'm also going to bring it down onto my lower lash line as well. So I'm just going to kind of pack this shade right out here on the outer corner, not bringing it any further over than about a little more than a 1/4, kind of between a 1/4 and a 1/3 of the way over on my lid. And then I just kind of want to blow it out here on my outer corner. And like I said, I'm going to bring it down onto the lower lash line as well, lining it up with what I have going on my lid. Alright, so next we're going to go into this deep purple shade right here. This one is called Necromancy, and I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up with a Sigma E45 brush, and we're going to start to deepen up this outer corner. Now I am going to take this a little bit deeper with that black shade, but I just want to have like a nice gradient effect over here. So I'm going to bring this a little further over than I would that black shade. Not quite as far over as that last shade that I put down, but just a little further in. I want to keep all of my depth on this outer corner. I don't want to bring it over very far, and I am going to take this down onto my outer portion of my lower lash line as well. Alright, so with that same brush, I went into that black shade called Dark Magic, and I'm literally just putting it right here on that very outer portion. So basically wherever my brush dabs is where that shade is going, and it's giving me just the tiniest little amount of depth out here. Like I said, I just really want to kind of smoke it out right here in that outer corner. Alright, so I'm going back in with that first pink shade that I used called Illuminate, and I'm just brushing it on the rest of my lower lash line, and I am bringing it over here to the outer corner as well, just right along the edge to make sure that everything is nice and soft and blended and we don't have any harsh lines, and then we're going to pop into some shimmer. Alright, so my lid is primed with my NYX glitter primer per usual, and for all over the lid, I think I want to start with this shade down here. I'm just really intrigued by that marbling in there. I want to see what it's going to look like when I pick it up. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this shade up with my finger real quick. We're going to do a swatch on the back of my hand, and then I will actually apply it with a brush. So that shade is called Manifest. So I'm just going to swirl my finger in here. And that is what that shade looks like. Oh, that is a really, really pretty shimmer shade. Absolutely beautiful. Has a really nice reflection to it. So let's go ahead and apply this to the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with my BK Beauty 203 brush. I am going to spray it with some MAC Fix Plus, and we're just going to put this all over the lid. Now, this is one of those shades that depending on where you kind of dip your brush in is going to depend on the actual shade that you get, because it does have that marbling. So your consistency with this isn't going to be the same across the board, but it is still really pretty. It's still really fun. It's going on really nicely. I'm not getting any fallout. I'm not getting any like heaviness or grittiness. It's not emphasizing texture, and it looks beautiful on the lid. All right, so for the inner corner, we're gonna go into this shade up here. This one is called White Magic. I'm gonna do a swatch again on the back of my hand so we can see what it looks like. Oh my gosh, that has such a beautiful like blue flip to it. Very icy, very beautiful. But we're gonna put this one on the inner corner of my lid. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up with my Singe Beauty EO1 brush. I'm gonna spray it once again, and we're just gonna pop it on the inner corner and kind of bring it down onto the lower lash line, bring it up onto the lid just slightly so we can make sure that everything is nice and blended. And then I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this look. All right, y'all, so this is the completed look, and I think this turned out really pretty. I'm loving the gradient of really dark to light that I have going on with the mattes, and I think those two shimmers look absolutely beautiful on the lid. Now, I did get the tiniest bit of fallout with that deep purple shade called Necromancy, but for the most part, it fluffed away. I didn't get anything with the black or any of the other shades. Everything performed the way that I expected it to based off of the other palettes that I have from the brand. But let's go over what I used to finish off this look so we can pop into our second look with this palette. So in my lower waterline, I went in with a Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liner. This is in the shade Bordeaux, and then I lined my lid with my ZC liquid liner and finished everything off with my Huda Beauty One Coat Wow mascara. But let's do our second look. So for this one, I think I want to do something kind of blue and green for this one, and then for the last look, maybe we'll do like purple and blue. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go ahead and start with this really pretty teal shade right here. It's not quite a mid-tone, it's a little bit deeper than a really light shade, but I love the undertone of it. That one is called Spiritual. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that shade up with, what brush do I want to use? Let's go in with this one. We're going to go in with a BK Beauty 212 brush, and I'm going to start by pressing this into my crease and kind of building up the pigmentation. So like I said, Jolie Beauty has a more buildable formula when it comes to their mattes, but you don't get any fallout, you don't get any patching or skipping, and they're still really easy to work with. And sometimes a buildable formula can be a really nice change. That way you have a little bit more control over the pigmentation and the depth that you want the shade to take on. I'm going to bring that down onto my lower lash line as well, just kind of wrapping it all the way around, but I am going to avoid my inner corner. All right, so I think what I want to do next is go into this True Forest Green shade up here. This one is called Vengeance. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up with my Singe Beauty EO6 brush, and we're going to put this in the outer corner. So I'm going to have this be my depth out here. So I'm going to start to press this shade on my outer corner, and then once I have it down, I have the pigmentation that I want, the depth that I want, and the shape that I want, I can go back and start to blend out the edges and make sure that we have a nice seamless look. All right, so I'm just going back with that first brush that I used, no extra product, and I'm going right along the edges and kind of blowing out this outer corner, kind of bringing it out a little far so it kind of fades into my skin. And then I'm going to go back in with that black shade and deepen everything up just a little bit more. So for that, I'm going to go in with the same brush that I used in the first look, which was my Sigma E45 brush. I'm going to pick up that black shade called Dark Magic, and I'm just going to put it right here on the outer corner and just build up a little bit more depth out here. I don't want this to take over, and I am going to bring it down onto the outer portion of my lower lash line as well. All right, so for all over the lid, I'm kind of feeling this shade right here. It's another one of those kind of like tie-dye swirl shimmer shades. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that for all over the lid, and then maybe bringing this one in up here for the inner corner, kind of tying in a little bit more of that blue to this green look. So let's go ahead and swatch those two shades out real quick to see what we have working with right here. So the first one is the deeper one, which is called Light Work. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely beautiful. I will say this did feel a little bit more on the dry side compared to what I'm used to, but it still picked up really nicely. It blended out beautifully. It doesn't feel chunky or glittery or anything like that, but I think that's gonna be beautiful on the lid. So for the inner corner, the other shade is called Intention, and that is what that shade looks like right there. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Nice and creamy, very reflective. I think those two are gonna look beautiful with this look. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna kind of wipe my fingers off real quick. So I'm gonna go into that first shade called Light Work. I'm gonna pick it up with my BK Beauty 203 brush. I am going to spray it per usual, and we're gonna put this all over the lid. Now this picks up a lot. It is very flaky and dry, like I said, but whenever I swatched it out, it didn't feel crumbly or textured. So something a little bit different, but I'm gonna go ahead and just press this all over my lid very carefully. I do have my NYX glitter primer on my lid for extra insurance, and I'm not getting any fallout, so that's really nice. That's really pretty though. All right, so with my Singe Beauty EO1 brush, I just picked up that other shade, Intention, and I sprayed it, and we're gonna pop this right here on the inner corner, and we're gonna kind of blend it down onto the lower lash line, bring it up on to the crease just a little bit, and then finish up this look. All right, y'all, so this is the second completed look with this palette, and I think this turned out really pretty as well. It's definitely more green than what I had envisioned in my head, but I'm not mad about it. But before we move on, I do want to point out just a couple of little things I noticed when I created this look before I forget. So one being that if you're gonna play with the greens in this palette, you definitely want to work dark to light, just because I had a little bit of a harder time kind of building up that black in that outer corner, and I didn't experience that over here. The second thing that I wanted to point out is the shade Light Work that I put all over my lid. It's definitely a pressed glitter, but I think it's a new improved formula from the brand. I do have some pressed glitters in the Sirens palette that came out last year, and I noticed that those were very gritty. They were kind of hard to adhere to the lid. I got a lot of fallout with them, and I could definitely kind of feel it on my lid. I didn't experience that with this one. While it definitely feels a little bit more textured and flaky in the pan, it blends out really nicely on the lid. It doesn't feel heavy. I didn't get any fallout, and I can't really feel like a grittiness on my lid. So just something I kind of wanted to point out. But let's go over what I used to finish up this look so we can turn down the lights, we can see the shimmer, the shift, and the sparkle, and then we can move on to our third and final look. So in my lower waterline, I went in with an Appeal gel liner. This is in the shade Forest Green, and then I lined my lid with my same ZC liquid liner and finished everything off with my Huda Beauty One Coat Wow mascara. All right, so for the last look, I definitely think we're gonna focus more on the blues. I hadn't planned on doing that, but I had also planned on the last look being a little bit more blue and green than what it turned out to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this shade down here. This one is called Protection, and I'm gonna go ahead and pick that one up with, where are you? My Morphe M504 brush, and I'm gonna start by putting this in basically the outer portion of my lid. So I'm not gonna bring this all the way across. I'm just gonna kind of focus it on this outer half of my lid. So I'm gonna start by pressing the shade where I want it. And then once I have it down, I can go back and start to blend out the edges and kind of blow out this shade a little bit. So next I want to go into this really pretty lavender shade up here. This one is called Blessing. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with a BK Beauty 202 brush, and I'm going to put that in the rest of the crease in my inner corner of this look. So I'm going to start by pressing it right here, and I'm going to press it up against that blue shade. I'm not going to do a whole lot of swiping motions because I don't want these shades to mud out, but if I press that lighter shade into that blue, they're going to blend pretty well. Now I am going to bring this over to the inner corner, but I'm not going to bring it into the inner corner because I do want to leave that for something else. And then as far as the lower lash line goes, I haven't decided yet, so that's kind of why I'm avoiding it right now, but so far I'm liking what we have going on. For the outer corner, we're going to go into this deep navy blue shade down here. This one is called Shadow Work. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with a BK Beauty 206 brush, and I'm just going to press this into my outer corner, doing what I usually do, just kind of building up the shape, the pigmentation, the depth, all of that. I'm not going to bring it up quite as high into my crease because I love that blue shade that I have going on, and I don't want to bring it all the way over either. I just want to use this to deepen up this outer corner just the slightest, like right around there. And I think that's as deep as we're going to take this look. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to start with this shade up here called Diabolic, and I'm just going to kind of fluff that along my lower lash line. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with this Unearthly UC8-7 brush, and I don't think I'm going to bring it all the way over to the inner corner. I think I'm going to stop about right there and then take that shade that I put right here on my inner portion of my crease and bring that down onto the lower lash line. But I am going to bump this up to the blue out here and just kind of blend them together so we don't have any harsh lines and everything just kind of flows around the eye. Okay, so I'm going back with that shade Blessing, which is that light purple shade that I put on the inner portion of my crease, and I'm just bringing it right down here and then very softly blending it in to that deeper purple called Diabolic. Okay, so for all over the lid, we're going to go into this shade right here, which is called Charm. It's this really pretty blue to purple duochrome. So I have already gone ahead and primed my eye with my NYX glitter primer per usual. And I'm just going to pick this shade up with my BK Beauty 203 brush. I am going to spray it, and we're going to put this all over the lid. So I have it picked up, and we're going to put this all over the lid. Now, I do want to point out that that one shade that I used in the second look, which was called Light Work, that's the only pressed glitter in this palette. I went through and kind of dug my finger into the rest of them, and everything else was nice and creamy and nice and smooth, didn't feel textured or anything like that. So I just wanted to point that out to y'all. All right, to finish off this look, we're gonna go into this shade right here for the inner corner. This one has a really pretty like pink to purple to blue flip to it, and I think it's gonna look really pretty on the inner corner. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up with my Singe Beauty EO1 brush. I am going to spray it, and we're just gonna pop this into my inner corner, kind of blend it up onto the crease, onto the lid, down onto the lower lash line, same as I usually do. Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. Love that shade. All right, y'all, so this is the third and final look with this palette, and this is by far my favorite out of the three looks. I absolutely love the way that this one turned out. I love the combination of the purple and the blue and those two shimmers that I used on my lid and my inner corner. Stunning, absolutely beautiful. But let me show you what I used to finish off this look so we can turn the lights down once again, and then we can close out this video with some of my first initial impression thoughts. So in the lower waterline, I went in with another Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liner, but this one is in the shade Fig, and then I went in with my same liquid liner and mascara that I have used throughout the rest of the video. Alright, so based off of first impression, I really do like this palette, but I don't know if I love it, and it really comes down to these three green shades over here. So I struggled as far as building up depth goes with those, and I find that to be a little out of character for the matte formula from Jolie Beauty that I know. I've never experienced that before, and I know it's not this black down here because I didn't have that issue in the first look with the purples when I went in with this. So for me, it seems like the greens are going to be those kind of shades that you have to work dark to light, and I'm not somebody who likes to work dark to light with my eyeshadows. It's a personal preference thing. Performance wise, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I do need to test them out dark to light to make sure, so I will keep you updated in a future palette ranking video. But if you're somebody who doesn't mind working that way, this might be the perfect palette for you. Color story wise, I think it's beautiful. It is a little bit bigger. It is a 28 pan palette, but I think it's a nicely curated palette. There is no color overlap in here, even though these two greens are very close. This one is deeper. I swatched it out and they are not the exact same. And these two right here look very similar on camera, but they're not the same shade in person. So while it could have been curated and scaled down a little bit more, I do like the color selection in here. It's the colors that I gravitate towards, the colors that I like to use. And I thought the matte formula in here, aside from these greens, was really nice. It was exactly what I expected. They were buildable in pigmentation. I didn't get any patching or skipping. I got minimal fallout with these two shades right here, but they are deeper, and I do go into a very light space or are a very tight space, but they didn't leave like a mess under my eyes or anything like that, so I'm not mad about that. Other than that, I thought the shimmers in here were beautiful as well. We do have this one pressed glitter right here, but the rest of these in here are nice and creamy, nice and smooth. I didn't get any texture with them, and we'll see how creasing and all of that goes. I've never had creasing in the past with Jolie Beauty, but formulas are not always the same from palette to palette, so I will let y'all know. But that is going to complete this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Let me know if you picked up this palette, which look was your favorite. I want to know it all. Let's have that conversation. Light up that comment section, and as usual, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.